By chance, have you heard of the Innocence Project? The Innocence Project? We've all certainly seen the fruit of their work in news stories and headlines. It was founded in 1992 by Barry Scheck and Peter Neufeld. The Innocence Project is a nonprofit legal organization that is committed to exonerating falsely convicted people through the use of DNA testing and to reforming the criminal justice system to prevent further injustices. The group cites various studies estimating that in the United States, between 2.3 and 5% of all prisoners are in fact innocent. The work of the Innocence Project has led to the freeing of more than 362 wrongfully convicted people based on DNA, including 20 individuals who spent time on death row, and the finding of 158 real perpetrators. I share this with you because our readings this weekend again once present to us lepers. And too often, I think that when we hear about the healing of lepers and leprosy in Scripture, we think of it in the context of another physical cure. Same way we might think of a person being healed of blindness or of deafness or muteness or some other malady and the like. But that's not truly capturing leprosy. Leprosy certainly was a very serious illness that would lead to death, yes, but more than that. Death would be welcomed pretty much by all lepers up until the most modern times. Because you see, once a person discovered they had leprosy, they were under the worst kind of death sentence. Once found out, they would be removed from their family, from their community, a total and complete loss, that they would be incarcerated, if you like. They would have to live in their own leper community. And these leper communities were horrible, lecherous places where the strong preyed on the weak, fighting over any scraps of food or clothing that might be available, shelter that might be available. It was really almost not just a subhuman existence, it was even worse than the existence that animals experience in the worst of conditions. And again, this would happen until at last death would come. And more often than not, particularly in ancient times, it was not death by leprosy, it was death by starvation or death by other elements, cold and the like. And now we have lepers in front of us this Sunday once again. We have first the leper Naaman. Naaman himself is not of Israel descent or people. He is in fact a Syrian. He is a commander in the Syrian army, and he's managed to keep his leprosy somewhat secret. It's known to his immediate family members and his household, yes. And interestingly enough, when you read the whole story, it's also known to the king. All of them who have chosen to look beyond the leprosy because of really what Naaman is doing for the kingdom as really an outstanding commander of the forces there. Now, in one of his conquests, they in fact capture this little Jewish girl, and she becomes a slave of Naaman's household. In fact, she is attending to Naaman's wife. She learns of the leprosy, and she tells her mistress that if he would but go present himself to this man of God in Samaria, surely he would be cured. Well, for him, this is his only hope. So he asks for leave from the king, and the king grants it. In fact, the king writes a letter on his behalf to present to the king of Israel. And he takes his entourage with him to seek out this man of God. I invite you to read the whole story in all its detail. It's very rich indeed. I'll just take you to where we are today, where just prior to what we heard, Elisha has in fact told Naaman to go and bathe in the Jordan 7 times, and he'll be cured. That's it. And Naaman is upset. He thought for sure that this man of God would come out and invoke the heavens and call down, a powerful blessing and prayer upon him. He might, apply various salves and ointments and the like. There might be lots of smoke and display of power and majesty. No, none of it. In fact, Elisha doesn't even talk to Naaman. He sends his servant to go tell him. Go tell Naaman, go take a bath. Really? In fact, Naaman is headed home. He's not having any of it. But it's his entourage, his closest of confidence, who say, would you not have done this if he hadn't, in fact, invoked great powers and the like and display, or had you do magnificent feats? In other words, demonstrated the power and forced you to earn it? Yes. Well, all the more reason to do it now. In what? Humility. Humility. And so Naaman, with nothing else to lose, he does. He goes and he bathes, and behold, he is cured. He returns ecstatic, beyond belief. He offers Elisha all the treasures he brought with him, which were magnificent. I mean, Elisha, if he had accepted, would have been a wealthy man many times over. And Elisha refuses. No matter how hard Naaman presses, he refuses. Why? Because it would be a payment to a debt that Naaman could never repay. Naaman didn't have enough, and Elisha wasn't the one to pay it to. And this epiphany of Naaman occurs where he recognizes that really the only thing he can do, again in humility, is give thanks to the one true God that has cured him. And that's why he asks for all that dirt. Because you see, in ancient times, the mindset was that gods are always attached to the land. And that's why possession of land was always so important, because a particular deity is attached to a particular piece of land. And now that Naaman knows that there is only one true God, the God of Israel, he's returning home. He needs the land of Israel to bring home with him, to set up an embassy, if you like. Perhaps the best way to think of it. That there at home he would have this earth, and only on this earth of the one true God would he continue to give thanks and praise to God for the miracle he has worked for him. What a powerful story that again carries forward into the time of Christ. Jesus, by way again of backstory, he is now traveling from Galilee to Jerusalem. And along the way, he has to go through Samaria, that part of the country. Okay, and is perhaps in this very setting, again, where Elisha was living, and he interceded for Naaman, and God, in fact, brought about this healing for him, is in the same setting, the same place that these lepers come out to Jesus. We're told that they stand off at a distance. They had to. That was the law. If they approached close, let alone reached out to touch anyone, it was punishable by death, by stoning immediately. So they're keeping their distance. We're not told if it's 10 men or whomever. More likely it's a mix of men and women. There might have been children as well, but we know that there are 10. At a distance, they're calling out to Jesus. Yes, we've heard others call out to Jesus before, but they're not calling him Lord. They're not even calling him a prophet. They're saying, Jesus, Master, have pity on us. And what does Jesus do? He's seemingly almost nothing compared to everything else he's done for everyone else he's ever healed. He just merely says, go show yourself to the priest. That will be enough for them. Say what? I mean, no praying, no mixing of dirt, no spitting into it, no touching or anything. No, go show yourselves to the priest. That will be enough for them. Well, why would we do that exactly? Because under Mosaic law, in fact, if one was thought to be cured of leprosy, They'd have to go show themselves to the priest. The priest would validate, authenticate the cure, and then that person would be restored to their family, to their community, to their life. I mean, they would really be set free from the horrors of a leper. Well, probably in a matter of minutes, they're on their way to the priest. He's not very far. They discover they've been cured. They discover they've been cured. And one of them, we're told, immediately returns to Jesus, giving thanks to God and thanks to Jesus, praising God and not keeping his distance. He hasn't even made it to the priest yet. He is now down at the feet of Jesus, doing him homage in all humility. And Jesus, does he express an amazement as he's done before? He is amazed, but he's not amazed at the worship and praise and thanksgiving he's receiving in all humility from this cured man. He is amazed that the other 9 didn't bother to turn around and come back and say thank you. Showed no appreciation at all for what he has done on their behalf. That there's no humility in them, but only in this one. Those other 9, they have no ability to repay what the Lord has done for them, and they don't care to either, apparently. And Jesus is upset. I wouldn't say angry as much as disappointed, which cuts a lot deeper. I even think in context of how many times I made my mom angry. Yeah, okay, I dealt with it. But if she said, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. Oh, that cuts deeper. Jesus, who is on his way to Jerusalem to suffer and to die for all these thankless people. To what? To set them free from their sin and sinfulness. And here is one who is not a child of Israel, who has returned. He is the one, in fact, that one would expect not to give thanks. And yet here he is, repaying a debt he can never repay, repaying it through humility. Humility. Repaying it to the one he can repay it to, and that's Jesus. And that's what Jesus wants most. In fact, that's what Jesus expects from all of us whom he is setting free from our sinfulness. He expects us to render thanksgiving unto him and not a, hey, thanks, Jesus. Good job. Catch you when I'm on the other side. That's not thanksgiving. Jesus, who suffers and dies and rises again to make salvation possible for us, to open heaven for us. And you know what? We're not among the 362 wrongfully accused. All of us are guilty of sin. All of us are guilty. There is no heaven project, innocent projects to save us. Jesus alone is the innocent one who is saving us and continues to save us. And where are we? Are we giving thanks unto him? Again, he is continually offering us salvation, and the only thing he expects is for us to continually give him thanks in return. Because when we do so, we are doing the one necessary thing for our liberation, for our freedom, and that is to give thanks. Again, Jesus didn't say, I have saved you from your sinfulness, go and sin no more. He says, your faith has saved you. Your faith in me has saved you. Do we have that kind of faith in Jesus to save us? We do if we're giving him thanks, worship and praise. And that's, in fact, what we're doing here at the Mass. This is the Eucharist from the Greek, Eucharistia, the word meaning giving of thanks. Yes, the continual giving of thanks. And that's what we're called, that's what we're expected to do. Give continual thanks and praise to God in and through the person of Jesus Christ. And then doing so, we receive him in his body, blood, soul, and divinity. And we are compelled to return again to him, to draw close, to touch him, and giving thanks and praise. Because when it's all said and done, we stand with the guilty of the crimes of humanity, whether we think ourselves innocent or not. And there is only one innocent among us who can set us free. The challenge is to have faith in him to do so and to give him thanks when he does.